If you remember a couple of days ago, I showed you all the squares that the knight can hop to. So we're going to kind of come full circle here in why this was important and why I wanted to show you these patterns so they can kind of start ingraining in your brain a little bit. Um, the point is forks. All right. So our game, all right, you got you got forks. Okay. So these are forkable patterns with the knight. Right here, right here, right here, 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 here. If your king and queen are on any of those two squares, you're getting forked. Here, it's a fork. You're getting forked, forked, forked. All right? Forkable patterns to kind of pay attention to. Another way would be if the knight was here, queen was here. That's a fork. That's a fork. Fork, fork, fork. Knight's hitting both these squares at the same time. It's a check. You're losing your queen. Right? Let's real quick look at some other tactical pattern ideas. Look at the idea of a skewer. Let's say it was this position and it was black to move. Black could play bishop b6, check the king, gotta move, and you're losing your rook on g1. So that's the idea of a skewer, skewering through the king to the piece behind it. And now let's look at the idea of a pin. All right, so let's say king and a knight here, and a bishop there. The knight is now pinned. Cannot move, that would be illegal. Putting yourself in check. Okay, knight's pinned to the king, cannot move. We've talked about that before. Um, and now if we go to what happened in our game, um, in our game, okay, so first of all, I taught you the Italian game, but the problem with that is now you're developing your pieces um, very robotically and blindly instead of reacting to what your opponent's doing on the board. First things first, the Italian game starts after e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. This is the Italian game. You can't just play the moves for the Italian game against anything your opponent's doing on the board. It's you have to react to what they're doing. And the problem is if you don't, what if black played this move and then you decided to play the Italian game? Now what's happening? You're losing a piece. Okay, so you have to react to what your opponent is doing on the board. You can't just play the Italian game moves against anything. Now, when you do play the Italian game moves against something that's not the Italian game, doesn't necessarily mean it's bad because there's other positions where that will arise from in openings. But I kind of am digressing here. It's not super important that you know about openings. What's more important is that you know about tactics. I wanted to teach you about the openings because I think it's important to kind of have an idea of where to start. But really, what I would like you to do is just follow more general principles and more pay attention to what your opponent's doing on the board, reacting to it accordingly if you have to, or just following those general opening principles is more important for you. Right now, what I would say is put two pawns in the center if you can, but if not, just put one pawn in the center, either your e pawn or your d pawn. If you're going to play e4, get your knights out to f3 and c3, and then develop from there. Try to castle before move 12, but you don't have to. Irving Chernov said in his book, uh, castle because you must or because you want to, but not just because you can. I think that's really important actually to know that. So in our game, you played e4, I played d6, the perk, the pierce, however you call it, defense. basically a king's Indian with e4. Knight wants to go here, bishop wants to go here with this pawn up and castle. That's kind of the setup I was going for. But you played knight f3, that's fine. Played knight f6, and you played bishop c4. The Italian game, basically. But it's not the Italian game because it's not the same move order. And the problem with playing this against what I played is that you're blundering this pawn right here. I could have just taken this. I didn't, but I could have. And the problem is you're just losing one of your central pawns, and your central pawns are very important. You don't want to just be losing them for no reason. There are certain openings and things and gambits and stuff that we can get to where that can happen in the future, but right now I want you to just try to play solidly, develop your pieces, make sure everything that you have is defended, and don't blunder pieces, don't blunder pawns. Which I will say you have been doing a good job of. You haven't been blundering anything outright. You haven't been just like sticking your bishop right by a pawn where it can get taken, and I'm very proud of you for that. Your board vision has improved greatly. Okay. But now I don't want you to be playing like a robot because that's really not what chess is about. It's not about just blindly making moves and developing your pieces like a robot because you play the Italian game. It's about developing your pieces and reacting to what's happening with your opponent on the board. Chess is a two-player game. It's not just you. There's a person playing the other side with the other pieces that has their own hopes, dreams, and desires, and one wrong move can make all of your opponent's hopes, dreams, and desires come true. So, and that's exactly kind of what happened in our game. So, in our game, you played this knight f3, e4, bishop c4. I had the knight out, and what I played was bishop g4. And then here you played d3, which was a fine, perfectly good move. Really like it. Defends your center, opens up your dark squared bishop. Yeah, great move. But then after that, I played knight c6. And also the reason, just a little side note, the reason I played this bishop g4 move is because it pins your knight to your queen. Okay, if you can't move this now, you lose your queen. Okay. You played knight c3, following general principles. I like it, developing. Okay. And then I played this move, knight d4. So your knight is pinned, and I'm adding an attacker to it. I'm putting pressure on the pinned piece. Put PP on the PP. Okay. Put pressure on the pinned piece. That's what I'm doing. But it's really not anything severe or that you have to really be too concerned about at this moment because well, we got to do some counting, right? Let's do some just simple counting. If you can count to 2, you can figure this position out. So your knight on f3 is attacked once, and now it's attacked twice. How many times is it defended? If you had a chance to think about that, it's defended once by the pawn on g2, and it's defended a second time by your queen. Okay? So what happened in the game was you said, oh no, I can't be in this pin anymore, and that was a blunder. And it was a blunder because of this tactical shot idea. All right? This tactical shot of bishop takes f3, and I told you here, I said, cannot recapture this bishop, or I said, be careful before you recapture this bishop. What's going to happen if you do? Well, if you recapture, bam, knight takes f3, and you're getting forked. Working patterns that we just looked at, right? King has to move somewhere, and then you're losing your queen. Okay, not good for white, right? So that's not what we want. What happened in the game was I took, and you said, bam, I'm not going to take. But what you failed to realize is that knight takes c2 is now, this square is now undefended, and it's a fork again. And you're going to lose your queen. King has to move, takes. This is the position we got in the game. Okay. So let's go back to the position where it kind of crumbled for you. So right here, when you said, oh, I need to get out of this pin, was the problem because you didn't need to get out of this pin. Because let's say you wouldn't have gotten out of this pin and you would have played a move like Bishop e3 instead, right? Attacking the undefended knight on d4. Okay. Now let's go through if I do exactly what I did in the game. Bishop takes f3. Pawn takes f3. You have to take with the pawn. Can't take with the queen. You're going to lose it, right? And now, well, now what? Now what? What am I going to do now? Am I going to take this? No, I'm just losing a piece. That's not going to work. So after you take, I really just have to retreat. I don't have anywhere I can go to attack anything in your position. It's all defended. The only thing I can attack is pawns, and I'm not going to take a pawn for the knight, most, unless there's a good reason for it. And in this case, there's not. You have to count. You have to count things like how dangerous is this position for white? Not dangerous at all. You have one, two, three, you know, queen's right here. And I just have a knight sitting here like, hey guys. He's not dangerous at all. And he's not defended. So I'd have to move back. And right here, after moving back, um, or I could defend my piece as well. E5, I could play C5, right? And in that case, you probably wouldn't want to take um, here because then this pawn comes in and it's in your territory. It's kind of like a thorn, kind of annoying to get out. It can be defended, right? So point being is this is an equal, just fine position, right, with what happened. So the idea of my pin wasn't really super dangerous, and it wasn't something that you needed to get out of, right? Um, and that's where you lost it. You took away one of the defenders of this knight. Now it's only defended one time. Once you move up here like this, it's only defended once, and that's where you ran into these problems here. So that's the tactics for you that I got. Um, just simple counting things to kind of improve your game. Uh, you know, like I said, you're doing really good in your games. You're not blundering your pieces outright. Queen d2 was a blunder, but it's a blunder because of a tactic that it's not really like a super advanced tactic, but it's a basic tactic, and it's a blunder to a basic tactic. And that's what I'm trying to get you to see now. Because it's much more important that you see these tactical ideas than you play e4, knight f3, bishop c4 on your first three moves of every game. Um, so that's what I got for you. And hopefully that kind of clears things up and gives you some ideas of how to handle those things in the future.